We have big news. We have exciting news for you. Tell them what it is, Serena.
We are super excited to announce that we are starting our first membership this January 2024.
Yay! Membership.
So we're excited to let you know that we will be hosting a monthly membership where when you join, you will be
with us live in a Zoom room once a month for a workshop like we just hosted. It's going to be a workshop like that, one topic each month, a different topic. You might even help us come up with the following month's topic from inside our membership. Super excited to meet you. It was so fun meeting a few of you in our inaugural workshop. So we're really looking forward to that.
And when you are a member, you will also be receiving a monthly newsletter where I'm going to be a little more intimate and I'll be sharing the things that are working and the things that aren't working for me.
Yeah, like taking a tool that you've learned from the podcast and how you're implementing it and how well that worked, or maybe if it didn't work. And then Amma can put in my 2 bits worth. We'll see how that goes. But a membership newsletter and a membership live Zoom room workshop starting in January 2024. Can sign up through our Patreon link in the show notes, yeah?
Yes, everything will be in the show notes, and we can't wait to see you there, listeners.
We can't wait. Yay!
Welcome, mamas, to another episode here at the Nurturing Parent. And today we are talking bribes. So in this episode, you will get the difference between bribes and rewards, 10 to 12-ish reasons why they don't work and what we're doing to our kids when we use them, and how to do it differently. So stay tuned and you'll get lots and lots of gems on how to approach this. Let's dive in.
Hey, Mama. Welcome to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Do you want to end the constant battles for bath time? Do you find yourself emotionally exhausted at the end of the day? Do you wake up with big hopes for a smooth day of fun with your little ones, only to face an early morning meltdown because you peeled their banana the wrong way?
Silly you.
Silly you.
Hey, I'm Serena. I'm a mama of 2 little ones, and as a new mama, I constantly questioned myself. I wanted to make sure I was raising respectful kids while also building a strong bond with them. But I discovered that I had to unlearn my ideas that punishment was the way. With Lisa's encouragement, I've been practicing a respectful and gentle parenting approach, which is strengthening our bond as a family.
And hi, I'm Lisa. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an amma. And I have over 40 years of experience in childcare and parent coaching. And I am so excited to share the knowledge I've gained over these years with you.
Together in this podcast, each week we will explore some easy to implement skills you can add to your parenting tool belt to help you create a happy, thriving family. All right, Amma. So I am coming to you, mother to Amma, mother to parenting coach, because currently I am struggling with bribes, and we already had a conversation about threats, and that's what I usually resort to. Threats or bribes when Andrea's not doing what I want her to do. And I don't want to bribe her because I know I don't want to bribe her. I just want her intrinsically to do what is, and I learned that from you, to do what's best.
Intrinsic motivation. Yeah.
Yes. So we spoke about the threats. That's episode 56. You better be good. Santa's watching. Why threats don't work.
And it's more than just about Santa, but that was the seasonal thing. And it was using Santa as the threat that he wouldn't come unless, Yeah.
Yeah. So I've realized I do the threats, and now I realized I'm doing the bribes, which I really don't want to do. And it's usually with something sweet, and that I really don't want to do that, but that's what she's really into right now. So just bribing her to finish her dinner or to get into the shower. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So I wanted to dig into that topic.
Yay. Well done, Mama. Well done for bringing something forward that you are aware of and struggling to not do because you know that there's some reasons, whether you know what those reasons are or not, you have a feeling or a sense that it's not the best parenting tool.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's your sense, you're absolutely right. And by the end of my chat, you will have a lot more reasons why you don't want to use bribery.
Yeah.
Um, so let's look at, first of all, the difference between bribery and rewards. There's rewards that come through bribes, like you do this and I will give you this. That's bribery. And then there's rewards that are separate from bribes, that are, some of them are natural consequences, like at bedtime. If a child has their bath, gets in their jammies, brushes their teeth, and gets into bed without a whole lot of lollygagging about or resisting, then they're in bed at the time that we desire them to be in bed. And so there's actually time, and you can say this, oh my goodness, it's 7 o'clock, it's exactly the time for bed, and so it didn't take a longer time tonight. That means there's time for more stories. So that's a natural consequence, a natural reward. And you don't have to call it a reward, absolutely, please don't. But that's a natural reward that happens because of a behavioral sequence that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can carry on and say, so tonight you could choose 3 really short stories or 2 a little bit longer stories. And they can come to you and bring the books, and you can decide which ones are long or short. And if that process starts taking a really long time, say, oh, we're getting into our reading time. Let's just choose quickly, or you can choose quickly, or I'll choose. Right. So that's a natural reward that would happen. You don't, if the child is resisting the bath and resisting the jammies and the teeth brushing is taking forever, if you then said, if you hurry up and get in bed, there'll be time for more stories, that's a bribe, right? So a bribe happens in the heat of the moment.
Mm.
And it's if you do this, you will get this. And there's a whole lot of problems with bribes that I'm going to get into here in a few minutes with you. But that's the basic difference, is that a reward is something that either happens naturally, or it's something that you think about beforehand, and you might talk about it beforehand. If you've been struggling with bedtime and bath time and teeth time and all of that, getting into bed at a good hour, if you've been struggling with that, at dinner time, you might say, I wonder if you had a bath, if it would help if we set the timer to have a bath for 15 minutes tonight. And then if you got dried and into your jammies nice and quick, and then you got your teeth done really well, and we got into bed by 7, there would be time for extra stories. So that's a reward, but you're not bribing them in the heat of the moment. You're talking about it at a time that's separate from that, oh my God, I just need you to get into bed now kind
Mm-hmm.
of feeling, right? So I'm going to do anything I can to make this happen. Right. So I think, does that help at all to just clarify that little bit?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right. So let's look at I don't know, I've got 10 or 12 or 13 reasons why bribery is problematic. And I'm going to give you those. Like, I like to give you here's why you don't want to do this. And then we'll move into some alternative ideas. And that was one of them, is pre-paving it again, right? The pre-paving, the setting up your expectations. And again, with the authoritative parenting, with the nurturing parent role modeling, you're setting up an expectation that is age and stage developmentally appropriate, your 1.5-year-old won't be able to do the bath jammies teeth independently. Your 3.5-year-old can probably do a lot of that independently, depending on their developmental stage, though, right? So it's partly age and partly stage. So that's one of the things that we need to realize, is that our expectations of what we think our children should be doing and can be doing needs to be at appropriate levels of development. Okay. Bribery. One of the great terms that I read recently about bribery is that it is a behavioral bandaid. So you're just slapping a bandaid on a bigger problem, you know? And in the short term, they feel like they work. They get the child to do what you want them to do.
Oh, yeah.
In the long term, we have a problem. So
Mm-hmm.
let's look. You mentioned the intrinsic motivation. Internal motivation is what we want our children to develop. The problem with bribery and reward systems is that they enforce external motivation. You do it because I said so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm motivating you. You don't have that motivation inside. And what it creates inside them is, what will I get? What do you want me to do? And what will I get for doing it? So it squashes the internal. It also can really squash enthusiasm in general for life, and it can squash creativity. There was a study that I read about that was done in the 1970s, where they were in a study situation where they were rewarding toddlers for drawing. And what started to happen is the toddlers, as they pulled the rewards away, the toddlers started drawing less.
Mm.
And that's another one of the dozen things about why it's not a great idea, is that rewards cause the interest to decline, the child's interest in whatever it is, eating their dinner, climbing into that car seat, getting into bed at night. It causes their interest in that behavior to decline. And the child will achieve less well. They'll do less in that area.
That makes me think about, if, I guess, I don't know if it's privileged, but if kids are just given money all the time, they really don't understand the value, and it makes them lose their motivation to get their own money and to chase their own dreams, or that's how I see it playing out in the future. Yeah.
Totally, 100%. It demotivates. Bribing and rewarding demotivates children, and it lessens their overall enjoyment, because it's not coming from inside them, right? It's coming from us. And yes, exactly what you were saying. It creates in a child, what's in it for me attitude.
Yes.
Which is entitlement,
Okay.
right? And the child will not want to be a contributing member of the family, or later in life, society, if there's no reward.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, but I'm not interested, because what's in it for me? That's the entitlement era that we are currently existing in.
That's
And
what I feel. And that's
right?
exactly why I don't want to do that for my daughter. I don't want to create that in her.
Yeah. Yeah. Bribery and rewards also lead to a need for instant gratification. And it teaches our children, if we're going to bribe them in the grocery store when they're grabbing for that candy, which, I'm sorry, if there's a store that would not put candy at the child's level beside the till, I would go to that store all the time just to support them.
Yes.
That is such a terrible part of consumerism. I just don't like it at all. But what it does is Yeah, so they're fussing and wailing and whining, and they want that candy right now. And then you're going to bribe them to keep them quiet, to get them out of the store without a scene. And that teaches them, and in any situation where they're being unruly and we're bribing them with a reward, it teaches them that when I act out, I get something nice.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of not what we want to be teaching our kids, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think.
That's what I
Right?
called, you might get mad at me for saying this, but brat. That's that. I don't like.
Yeah, it's bratty behavior.
Yeah.
I would not call the child a brat, but
No.
it is bratty behavior.
Okay.
Separate the deed from the doer, right? You might get mad at me. um, it also bribing and rewarding children also robs them of the good feelings that we get when we do the right thing, right? Let me come back to my written list here. Oh, yeah, there's an inherent value of the behavior that is needed in a situation that's overshadowed by the reward. You see what I mean there? Kind of ties in with the last one. That if they act out, they're going to get something good. But if they do what's necessary to be done, to be part of the family, to be part of the society, there's an inherent value in being that kind of person.
Oh yeah.
If it's about being kind, if it's about being gentle with your sibling, if it's about being kind to your mama and not stomping your feet and demanding, there's an inherent value in those behaviors that we want our children to exhibit, and those get overshadowed when we give them a reward for being kind or for being gentle. The reward starts being the God, if
Mm-hmm.
you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sets them up for expectations of rewards. What's in it for me? You want me to be nice to my brother? Fine. What do I get?
Mm-hmm.
What you get is the feeling you feel when you're nice and kind and gentle and compassionate to other humans, right? We're stripping our children of that, or we're stripping our society of that. Don't forget, you guys, when you're raising your children, you are raising the adults of tomorrow's world. You are creating society.
Yes, when you mentioned that one, it made me think of I know people who have an attitude of that it's like the world owes them something. It's gonna create just a struggle for them in their future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. Um, and of course, when the rewards stop, often the behavior stops,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then you get into this cycle. And it might be one thing to give them some sweet little gummies when they get in their car seat today and tomorrow and this year. But what are you going to do when you want a behavior that you need them to do when they're 10 years old or 15 years old? It gets expensive financially, but more importantly, it gets expensive by the emotional problems that it can create in the long term. And the other thing to keep in mind is that when we bribe or reward our children to do something that just needs to get done in a family, like we need to have a bath, get our jammies on, brush our teeth, get into bed. We need to get our boots on, get our coat on, and get out the door and get into the car seat. We need to, whatever those things are. What rewarding a child for those basics gives a subliminal message that the parent does not have confidence in or trust the child's ability to do what needs to be done. So that's kind of the underlying message that we're giving. They don't trust you to be able to do this thing. So I'm going to reward you for doing it, even though it's just part of our daily life in a family, right? And I want to just touch on the whole idea of giving those sweets as a reward. And I want to say using food and using sweet food as a reward can cause lifelong issues around food. And we can, I think, are we going to have a whole episode on food
Yeah,
eating? And yeah,
I would love that because I think
yeah.
that's very important.
Yeah, I think
'Cause-
I think it's like they came out in all my notes, all the stuff about food, because it's one of the big areas. People are like, eat your dinner before you get dessert, or eat everything on your plate before, and I'll give you some ice cream, whatever it is. And it's so problematic. There's a lot of notes here about it, but I think that it needs to be its own.
oh, definitely.
It's okay, good. Let's do that.
Can I just mention
um,
one too?
mhm.
If we're bribing for sweets because we're getting an unwanted behavior, usually sweets bring on more of that unwanted behavior.
Yes, yes. And I think we're going to have an episode about all the sweets in our lives too, right? The sugary
Yeah.
food and yeah.
Yeah,
So
soon. Soon, very soon.
soon, soon. Okay. So what can we do instead? What can we do instead of bribery and rewards? The first thing I want to say is I want to remind you that when you are aiming to change a behavior, your behavior, not your child's. You, Serena, came to me and said, I don't want to be using bribes. And I'm noticing that I'm doing it. So number one, all of you listeners, if you notice that you're using bribes or if you're using threats or if you're yelling or all the things, noticing is the first step to being able to change. So I want you to acknowledge yourself. Give yourself a little pat on the back
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say.
acknowledge.
So,
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. Um and so that's the first step. And then the second step is when you hear yourself in your mind about to burst forth with that bribe, just stop. Even if you don't have a replacement ready, just bite your tongue and do your very best not to say anything. Take that deep breath. Notice, right? And if the bribe comes out, you can notice that too. And it's the noticing that is the beginning of change. So I just wanted to get that in there. Um, I want you to think about those natural rewards that I talked about, like if they're in bed at bedtime, there could be 3 stories instead of one, right? And there are other natural rewards, like if we get into the car seat easily, we will have a whole hour at the playground. If we take a long time getting into the car, it's going to cut down the time we have at the playground. If your child is refusing to put on warm coats and hats when in the wintertime and you're trying to do everything, come on, if you just put them on, I'll give you a candy and we'll get in the car. No, 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 no. Here's an easy one for that. You want to look for the root of the problem, and the child might be warm because they're in the house and they've been running around and they're fine. And they don't have the brain capacity, the awareness to look outside and go, oh my gosh, there's frost on the ground. They may not have that ability yet to put those two and two together. Really simple one. And somehow I figured this out when I was in kindergarten. I used to do this. So I'm going to share it with you. Just suggest it instead of arguing with the child, instead of bribing the child, instead of threatening, say, hey, let's step outside on the front porch for a minute. And 2 minutes, I'm going to time 2 minutes, and then you let me know what clothes you need for your body. I'll tell you, they get outside and there's frost on the ground, they're going to hurry back in and get their coats and mittens and hat on, right?
Yeah.
So that part is about helping them to understand the reasons for what needs to happen. And then I touched on this, but searching for the underlying cause. And this isn't about asking them questions. This is you listening or observing the situation. What else is going on here? If it's dinner time, are they over hungry? Are they tired? Are you having dinner too late, maybe? Is there some kind of stress around the dinner table? Are people arguing? Um, is there a lot of excitement around the dinner table? Are there extra people around? Look for the underlying cause and try to address that rather than the behavior which needs that band-aid slapped on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that, if you're looking at your particular issues that you've been finding yourself using bribery or tempted to use bribery, are any of those things they feel like they might be able to help?
Yeah, I think they're amazing. And the first one is really for me because I do notice it as it's coming out. So really just stopping and not saying anything first.
Yeah.
That really hit me. Just don't let it come out your mouth.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then the pre-paving I really like. And usually it is either we're having dinner too late, maybe she did have a snack in between and she's not that hungry. So that's
Mhm.
to make her eat everything on her plate. It's
Yeah.
not fair. Like, why force her? And I know I always had to eat everything on my plate. And now I have like a fear that I can't get off the table until everything is off my plate. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm full and I force myself to eat. So why am I creating that for my daughter?
Exactly. Thank you. And this is why we will have an episode very soon about getting our children to eat healthy food and meals. And yes, I actually am a supporter of snacks, and we'll talk about that more in depth. But if your child has had a snack, hopefully you're offering them nutritional food for snacks,
Mm-hmm.
not candy and chocolate
And chips.
and chips, right? But
Yeah.
actual nutritional food for snacks. It doesn't matter what time of day your child gets their nutrition, as long as they're getting fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, proteins, grains, like all the things. So yeah, there's so much to talk about food, but I just feel like we could go on for another hour.
Yes. No, but that is all very helpful. And it really doesn't take much but us noticing those cues and paying attention and wanting to
Yeah.
change for the better. So
Yeah.
thank
And
you.
you're welcome. And if you notice, like, if you stop and you catch yourself and you stop, then be that observer again, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
be that observer of your child's world. What is going on right now? Why is she either picking at her plate or keeps wanting to get down from the table, or is just being goofy? Like, what is going on? Oh, she's overtired. We're eating half an hour later than usual. We're eating an hour later. There's been a lot of stimulation today. She's just kind of hyper stimulated, that all, like, just noticing and going, oh, I'm really noticing that there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of bouncy energy at the table tonight. I wonder if it would help to talk about one sound that we really noticed today. Like, do something to come back into our bodies in the moment and just shift from your need to make her eat all her food and just shift into the present moment, the mindfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I hope that helps.
Yes, that was very good. And understanding why they don't work really was, now that I know better, do better and just try not to bribe.
Catch yourself. Catch yourself.
Yeah.
We're all learning. We're all learning. That's what this life is all about.
Thank
Take
you,
good
Emma.
care of yourselves. Take
Yes.
good care.
Good luck,
Love you.
mamas. Alrighty, there's another great episode. Thanks to Amma teaching us why we cannot use our favorite tool of bribery. Just kidding, it's not our favorite because now we know all the negatives that come with it. So Let me dive into my 4 gems. And number 1 is being that using bribery sets them up for expectations of rewards. And it gives them that what's in it for me attitude. And when they have that attitude, they're not going to be a contributing member to the family nor in society. And if we're doing that to our kids, we're setting them up for failure, and we're setting our society up for failure. Number 2 is if they are being unruly or giving us unwanted behaviors and then we're bribing them with candy, they're learning that to get candy, they can act unruly. And that is the opposite of what we're trying to do with the bribes. So that's another good reason to stop. And then number 3 is just stopping before you even say it. And that is, I can definitely put that into practice because I do notice when I'm doing it. So that noticing is the first step, and then just zip it. Zip it before the bribe comes out. Just zip up your lips, throw away the key. And then number 4 is shifting from your need to in the moment. So if I'm trying to get her to finish her food and she doesn't want to finish her food, just shifting from me trying to control it and trying to get her to do what I want her to do to being mindful and present in the moment, noticing what's going on with her and why she's acting like that. And, either changing the mood, not the mind, and using those tools before I throw a bribe in there. Because now that we know better, we're going to do better. And I don't want my kid to be expecting rewards just from doing things that we have to do. And so that, along with all these other 10 to 12 things that Emma mentioned, they're not good things that we want in our kids. And I know you as a nurturing parent, that's why you're here. That's why we're learning. That's why we're getting better every day. And sometimes it might slip out, and that's okay. But we want better for our kids. So we're harming our kids more than ourselves by using these bribes. And so I wish you luck, mamas. Try to just zip it before that bribe comes out. Okay? Good luck.
Hey, Mama.
Thank you for being here with us.
Okay, how cute was that? Thanks for being here with us. Hit subscribe to get notified.
And hey, did you get anything out of this episode? I know I did. Show some love and send it to your mama friends to bless their day too.
And before you run and change that diaper, take 5 seconds and leave us a review saying how much you love us. You'll be helping other mamas find us. Did you know that? And hopefully find answers to the questions that are keeping them awake at night.
And if you screenshot your review and DM it to us, you will be entered to win a 1-hour coaching call at a discounted price with Amalisa.
I can't wait to chat with you. Come hang out with us in our Facebook group or on Instagram. Just click the links in the show notes. And you can direct message us anytime. We would love to chat with you.
We also have a buy me a coffee option for a fun way that you can support this podcast for just as much as you care to give. Just click the show support link in our show notes. Thank you. See you next week.